Greetings, mathematicians. Today, we are going to learn how to graph equations that are in slope-intercept form. But first, your daily jokes. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Get my screen switched. All right, so here are the notes today. And there was a reason why I just kept this sheet non-colored, because we are going to use color on our notes to help us identify the different parts of the equation. So I'd like you to either use a highlighter or colored pencils, and I'm going to use the color orange for slope. So I'm going to highlight the M, y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept. So the M represents the slope, whatever coefficient is in front of that x. So I'm going to highlight the M, and I'm going to write that word coefficient. Because that's a word that we are going to be referring a lot to, and you probably ended up seeing that on the lab that we just finished up. For y-intercept, I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use blue. You use whatever color you want. And that's going to represent where the line is crossing the y-axis. Now let me label this on each of them. So there's the y-axis, and y-axis on that last one. So that is your vertical axis. And so that's going to be pretty important when we go to graph these here. So on example 1, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then we'll be able to graph this equation. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight the slope. 3 is the coefficient in front of x. Oh, I do not see a number after the 3x. Well, what can we add to anything and it doesn't change? Okay, so if I said, okay, 7 plus what still gives us 7. Oh yeah, okay, 0. So I'm going to put a plus 0 here. And then I'm going to highlight that. That is going to be where that line is going to cross the y-axis. And now I'm going to fill in m equals 3, and I'm going to put that over 1. Remember, slope is a constant rate of change. It's rise over run, the change in y over the change in x. And any integer is always over 1. It doesn't change. 3 divided by 1 is 3. But that 1's important. We're going to have that for the run. And then our y-intercept is 0. Now you can see on the directions, the first thing we're going to do is plot the b, or the y-intercept. And it's actually an ordered pair, 0, comma, and we fill that in, what we ended up getting. And we're going to plot that first. And I'm using my blue on the y-axis, 0, 0. Now I'm going to use the slope, so I'm going to grab my orange, and I'm going to, from the y-intercept, plot another point using the slope. So I'm going to rise up 3 because it's positive, and I'm going to go over 1. And then I'm going to plot that next point. Okay, and then so just grab a straight edge. I'm going to get the line, and don't forget arrows there. Example 2. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is color code. So I have my slope and my y-intercept. Plug those values in. -2 over 3. We just want one negative on that, and I always like to put it with the numerator. And we have 3 for the y-intercept. So the first thing we're going to do is plot that y-intercept. It's an ordered pair, 0, 3. I'm going to use my blue. Da-ba-dee, da-ba-da. Okay, there's 0, 3 on the y-axis. Use my orange to plot another point from that y-intercept. Down 2, because it's negative, always go to the right because it is positive. So down 2 to the right 3, plot a point, draw the line. And arrows. Last example. Highlight. Oh, okay, I just have a negative in front of that x. I'll have to think about that here in just a second. And then I have negative 2. And because there's a minus on it, that indicates that it's negative. Okay, so for my slope, I have negative x. All right, so what number is actually there? Negative 1. So I'm going to write negative 1 over 1. Remember, we like to have the change in y over the change in x, so 2 numbers definitely help you. We don't want to just run 0. That wouldn't be the correct answer. And then our y-intercept is negative 2. So first you plot that y-intercept, 0, negative 2 on that y-axis. Plot that point. Use the slope. This time I'm going to go down 1 to the right 1. And draw my line. All right, cool. Now I'm going to glue that in to my interactive book. And I'm going to pick a page where I have a free left side, because I'm going to have you jot just a couple notes on that right-hand side that will also help you on this assignment. So remember, it's just a thin line or 4 dots, no glue in the middle. All right, so that's on the left-hand side. Just pause the video if you need to. And then over on the right-hand side, I'm going to have you just take a few more notes here. I want to review an equation for a horizontal line and a vertical line. And I call this Hoy-Vux, H-O-Y, and then Vux, V-U-X. Because sometimes we will end up getting horizontal and vertical lines, and we have to know what the equations are for those. So I'm going to fill in the words here. We'll go over Hoy. So let me zoom in just a little bit here. Horizontal, 0 slope, and it's y equals. So let's take a look at an example here. Just make a quick sketch here. So I just ended up getting my axis here. Here's the y-axis and the x-axis. And let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a horizontal line crossing at 0, 4. Well, what's the equation for that going to be? Well, it says it's going to be y equals, depending on where it's crossing the y-axis. This equation would be y equals 4. Let's try another one. 1, 2, 3. Let's just go down to 0, negative 3. We'll draw a horizontal line. Because it's horizontal, 0 slope. Oh, it's y equals where it crosses that y-axis. Let's go over Vux. You guessed it. Vertical, as Slope Dude would say, undefined. And this one's going to be x equals. So again, just sketch your axis, y-axis, your x-axis. Well, this time, okay, we have vertical lines. Let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be 5, 0. I have a vertical line. Oh, and it does, this is one example where it doesn't cross the y-axis. It's x equals. This line is going to be x equals 5. Let's go -2, 0. Draw a vertical line. It's undefined. This example would be x equals -2. All right, you are prepared now to do the worksheet. Totally up to you if you want to color code. If that helps you, feel free to do it. If you think you got it and you don't need to color code, great.